Adult Solutions. Add-on Desire.
Hello viewers, welcome to Adult Solutions Daily News Analysis session. I am Lokesh Pengonda. This session is designed while keeping in mind the needs of aspirants preparing for UPSC and Group 1 of various states. First, we'll begin with a quote. All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. First article of the discussion is talking about the bee fences to ward off elephant attacks. So this bee fences is created under the project REHAB. REHAB stands for Reduction of Elephants, Humans, Attack through bees. Before going into the REHAB project, we'll first discuss about the issue of man-animal conflict. We often hear in the news that animals straying into the human areas, and it is causing death of humans and even livestock, and also sometimes these animals are killed by the local population. So this is the term we call it as man-animal conflict. So what would be the issues of the man-animal conflict? First, loss of life, because whenever animals come to the human habitations, it may kill or injure humans and livestock, and it may also lead to death of the animal. It also leads to property damage. Let's say elephants are straying off to the agricultural areas and to human habitations. It may lead to property damage, and it may also lead to loss of agricultural needs. So these are the various issues related to the man-animal conflict. So what are the reasons for man-animal conflict? First, infra construction near the forest areas. We see that roads, railways are being constructed through the forest areas, and also we see that there is an increase in human settlements near and even inside the forest in particular states, because as the humans need some place to live, and the place and the areas near the forest area are generally of less value. That is, you can buy a particular land at cheaper price near the forest area. So the amount of human habitations and settlements are increasing in and near the forest, and there is also clearing of forest for agricultural plantation. As the agricultural demand is increasing, more amount of forests are cleared and they are brought under the agricultural purposes and for cultivation. So in this regard, the article has given that between 2015 and 2020, nearly 2,500 people have lost their lives. This 2,500 is just because of elephants. And if we consider other animals such as snakes, leopards, tigers, the mortality and the number of people lost their lives will be more. So to reduce the amount of death and to reduce the attacks of elephants on the humans and the human habitations, Project REHAB has been initiated by KVIC. KVIC stands for Khadi Village Industries Commission. First, we will see what is Project REHAB. Under the Project REHAB, bee fences are created. As you can see, there is a box here and there is a box here, and these two boxes are connected by a small wire. What would happen is, let's say if an elephant is coming near this, and if an elephant wants to cross this area, it would trip this wire. So whenever the wire is tripped, the bees which are inside this box will come out. So as the bees comes out, it will dissuade, it will make the elephants to return back to the area they came from. So this is what Project REHAB does. This Project REHAB gives boxes and it has bees, and whenever it is tripped, bees comes out and it will dissuade elephants from going in this area. So what are the advantages of this project? First, it is of low cost because usually the traditional and conventional methods like fencing requires more amount of money and more amount of time to construct this, whereas the bee fences can be constructed, can be used very fastly and at very cheaper prices. Also, there is no harm to elephants. In fencing, sometimes electricity is made to go under these fences, so that whenever the elephants touch these fences, a minimum amount or sometimes more shock is given to elephants, so that elephants would not go to this way. But as in this case, the bees would not harm elephants much. So this is second advantage. And third, protects plantation, because as the elephants are prevented from going in this way, the plantations which are exist back end of this box will be saved. So it protects plantation also. So what is the way forward? First, prevent deforestation, because only when there is deforestation and only when humans are entering near the habitats of the forest and various animals, there is an increase in man-animal conflict. So if you reduce the deforestation and if you increase the afforestation, that is if you plant more trees, the problem of man-animal conflict will reduce gradually. Use this idea in other places, that is, use the idea of bee fences in other places, so that as this bee fences has been introduced in Karnataka as a pilot project, so if it is successful and if it is useful to the public, this idea should be repeated, should be given to other areas. Next, create wildlife crossing. So in this image, you can see that below there are roads for humans and above there is a crossing for animals. So whenever roads are being constructed inside a forest, you should create a wildlife crossing, so that animals would use this road for their crossing and it would not impact the lower human transportation issues. Next, educate those living near the forest, because what happens is sometimes if the people who know what would happen if you act in a certain way, then they would act in that particular way and they would prevent the elephants or even animals to attack them. Let's say a person is living near the forest, and if this person know what the things to do and what are the things not to do, let's say he should not throw any objects on these elephants or any other animals. So if you educate the persons living near the forest, it would reduce the man-animal conflict. So these are the way forward. Our next article. So in this article, we've seen that KVIC has initiated this project. So let's look into what KVIC does. KVIC stands for Khadi and Village Industries Commission. It is a statutory body established under the Act of Parliament. This act is Khadi and Village Industries Commission Act 1956. And in 1957, it was created and it took over the then existing All India Khadi and Village Industries Board. By taking over this board and establishing a new structure, KVIC is formed. Next, what are the functions? It acts as an apex organization. It acts as a head organization under the Ministry of MSME, that is Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. It acts to plan, promote, facilitate, organize and assist in establishment and development of Khadi and village industries. So this is the main purpose, main function of this KVIC. So what are the three objectives of KVIC? First is social objective, that is create employment in rural areas. Second, economic objective, create or manufacture saleable products. Only when the products which you are creating has a demand, only then you can earn profits. So this is the economic objective. What is the wider objective? To create self-reliance among rural inhabitants. So these are the three objectives of KVIC. Next, we have an article which is written by Mr. Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank, who is Minister of Education in India. In this article, he is giving the various achievements and various initiatives taken by Ministry of Education and Health. Let's look into this. First, he has given the achievement that the last polio case which was identified in India was 2011, and subsequently India was declared polio free in 2014. And for this as an achievement, we've started National Vaccination Day, which is identified and which is seen on March 16th every year. The objective of this National Vaccination Day is to tell the public, that is inform the public about the importance of vaccinations. So to inform and to educate and to create awareness among the public about the importance of the vaccinations, this day is used. And this is important in the context of COVID-19, because for COVID-19 to be treated, we need huge number of vaccinations, and it is important to the people to know about the vaccination procedure and what benefits you can expect from vaccinations. And also the article is talking about medicines as a global good. That is, the medicines which are made in India are not only being used for India's demand and India's needs, it is also being exported to many countries. It has, in this article, it has given that the developed countries such as US, Germany and some other Western countries, they are following the idea of vaccine nationalism, and whereas countries which are developing such as India and some other countries, they have no setup, research compared to these Western countries when it comes to COVID-19 in the beginning of the pandemic. But later on, India has developed the capabilities, and even India started the vaccine diplomacy. India, by sending vaccines and generic drugs to nearly 70 countries in the world, has proven itself as the global vaccine maker and as the pharmacy of the world. So let's look into the various. So let's see what all we have provided to the world. We have provided generic drugs, we have provided vaccines, we have also provided hydrochloroquine. Apart from this, we have provided medical equipment, training. So these are the initiatives taken by India for supporting the developing countries and the underdeveloped countries. In regard all these things, one thing is important, that we have to provide for innovation and research. Only then can we make and can we invent something which is cheap and affordable to the lots of public in the world. So let's look into the importance of education and research. First, the need for innovation and how innovation has helped India in the context of pandemic. By inventing low-cost ventilators, COVID test kits, drones for sanitations, PPE kits, masks and much more, we have made these goods at affordable prices so that it would benefit large population. So it will bring better health facilities to them, as the cheaper and affordable products will be bought by more hospitals and can be brought by more people. It lead to improved health, and by inventing all this at affordable prices, we are able to export these products to other countries. So by exporting not only medical drugs but also medical equipment at affordable and as grants, we are able to relive the idea of Vasudeva Kutumbakam, that is, the world is one. This idea we've been following from centuries back, and by following this idea, we are saying to the world that world is one, and we as brothers need to help each other in the times of issues and in the times of pandemic. So this reiterated this idea. Now, what is the need for research and innovation in the coming years? First, it is important for research and innovation to be promoted, to be encouraged, to tackle the issues of health and climate change, because as we've seen earlier, when COVID struck, the countries which have better research capabilities and the countries and even the institutions of education which have more resources and research capabilities, they are able to help the world by providing various products, let's say COVID testing kits and even vaccines. In this condition, in this context, we can take the example of Oxford. So Oxford University, with the help of AstraZeneca, has developed a vaccine, and this vaccine, which is titled as Covishield in India, is being manufactured by Serum Institute of India. So as you can see here, by having institutions with research capabilities, it would be helpful for the countries and for the world as a whole to prepare for new challenges and to tackle these challenges. And in this context, the author is stating that the National Education Policy, which was released in 2020, provides the necessary encouragement for research and for better skilled workforce in future. As the new education policy encourages research, setting up of incubation centers, it promotes innovation among students, and it recommended setting up of multidisciplinary education and research institutions. So by promoting and by encouraging innovation not only at the institution level but also at the individual level, we will be able to tackle the challenges which will be expected due to health and climate changes. So this is the need for research and innovation. Next, this article is also talking about the National Research Foundation. This was announced during the 2021 and 2022 budget this year, and in the budget we have seen 50,000 crores as the outlay to this newly announced foundation. This 50,000 crores will be used by this agency or the foundation in the coming 5 years. This money will be used for the research promotion in not only the fields of science and technology but also in the field of social sciences, arts and humanities. Thus, by supporting the research and by supporting innovation in all these fields, we will be able to transform the research culture in the country. And this National Research Foundation will be headed by the Principal Scientific Officer. So these are the various initiatives government has taken in the last few years for tackling and for improving the research culture. And this article is saying that there is an expectation from the public. So what is this expectation and what are public expected to do? Public are expected to take part in the vaccination campaign of the COVID-19, so that when people get vaccinated, their health will be better, their productivity will be increased, and we as a country can move forward. So this is the crux of this article. Next is an article talking about the Supreme Court's judgment regarding the state election commissions. So the Supreme Court has recently stated that government employees under the state or even the union cannot be appointed as state election commissioners. This is a judgment which is given to safeguard the election process. because free and fair elections is the bedrock of any election. Now we'll see the various powers and various initiatives of State Election Commission. First, we'll see the functions. State Election Commission is entrusted with the function of conducting free, fair and impartial elections to the local bodies. We see that elections happening to Lok Sabha and even for members of Legislative Assembly. For members of these, they are elected and these elections are conducted by Election Commission of India, whereas State Election Commission will only conduct the elections for local bodies, that is for panchayats and municipalities. According to Article 243K of 1, it states that the superintendence, direction and control for the preparation of electoral rules for and conduct of all elections of the panchayats will be the function of State Election Commission. And also under 243 ZA, the same functions will have to be carried by the State Election Commission in the context of municipal bodies also. To conduct these elections, there is a need for independence and there is a need for security of the tenure, because only then can an election commissioner be expected to be neutral, and only when, if he is neutral, you can expect free and fair elections. So, to safeguard his tenure, Article 243K of 2 is included in the Constitution. It states that the tenure and appointment will be directed as per the law made by the state legislature. So you should note this, that the tenure and the appointment related details will be made by the State Legislative Assembly. However, these State Election Commissioners shall not be removed from his office except in the manner of the likes of the ground of Judge of a High Court. That is, the tenure and the terms though provided by the State Legislative Assembly, the State Election Commissioners cannot be removed unless there is a process which is similar to the removal of Judge of a High Court. Only in that context can a State Election Commissioner can be removed. So it would protect the tenure and security of State Election Commissioner. But what are the concerns raised regarding this? First, non-uniform service conditions for State Election Commissioners, because as states can make laws, those states will make laws according to their own needs, according to their own ideas. So in AP, one type of tenure regulations and other aspects might exist. In Telangana, some other conditions might exist. In Delhi, some other conditions may exist. So there is no uniform service conditions. Next, appointment of governors, government selection as election commissioners. As we've seen earlier that in many states, government employees are also given additional duty as state election commissioners. So it would impact the neutrality of those who are appointed to this position, because as the person who is appointed is already a government employee, he might be under the influence of the state government. So this is a concern. Next, dilution of terms during the office. We've seen in Andhra Pradesh that the tenure of the State Election Commissioner has been reduced from 5 years to 3 years, and subsequently he is removed because the 3 years term is over. And for his reappointment, that is to nullify this ordinance which reduced the tenure, he has to go to High Court and he has to go to Supreme Court. So there is dilution of terms during office. Even though the dilution can be nullified by the courts, it would be a long drawn process. Next, allegations of bias. There are allegations that the state election commissioners are biased and they favor some party or the other, because the state election commissioners are normally appointed by the governors. These appointments are made under the aid and advice of Council of Ministers. So it is generally expected that the person who is appointed as a state election commissioner will be under the influence or at least somewhat favorable to to those who appointed him. So these are the allegations. So what is the way forward? First, appointment of state election commissioners by the governors should be following the collegium recommendation. That is, we are recommending a collegium which would consist of members such as Chief Minister of the State, Speaker of the Assembly, Leader of Opposition. These three persons should take a decision on the appointment of the state election commissioner, and it should be this decision should be given to the governor, and only then governor can appoint the state election commissioner. This would reduce the partiality and this would reduce the biasness of those appointed. Second, Supreme Court order on not appointing the government employees as state election commissioners should be strictly followed, as the Supreme Court has given an order which prevents the appointment of government employees as state election commissioners. This judicial order should be followed by every state. So these are the way forward. Next, an article regarding the Quad Summit. For this, please visit our 15th March news analysis, that is yesterday, and in that video you can directly visit at 22 minutes for news regarding this Quad. Next, prelims practice questions. Project Rehab objective is to rehabilitate those who have lost their lives due to Uttarakhand glacial lake outburst, rehabilitate drug addicts in India, rehabilitate those who lost their belongings in the Sri Lankan civil war, or is it regarding the reduction of elephant-human conflicts? The answer is D, as we've discussed earlier. Next, consider the following statements. KVIC is a statutory body. Project Rehab is an initiative of KVIC. As it is asking for the correct statement, the answer is B, because both are true, as we've discussed earlier. Which of the following are correct identified as classical dances in India? Odissi, Satriya, Bhuwana, Mohiniyattam. And the question is asking to find the not correct options. So the answer is option B, because these three are classical dances and this is just a theatrical art form. Next, Bara-Lachala Pass connects which of these? Does it connect Himachal Pradesh and Ladakh, Arunachal Pradesh and Bhutan, Sikkim and Nepal, Nagaland and Myanmar? It connects Himachal Pradesh and Ladakh. Next, previous years we've taken a question from 2019. In which of the following relief sculptures inscriptions is Ranyo Ashoka, that is King Ashoka, mentioned along with the stone portrait of Ashoka? The answer is Kanganahali, and this is in Karnataka. Now let's see the mains practice questions. First, what are the problems raised due to man-animal conflict? Explain how Project Rehab can reduce such problems. Second, what are the responsibilities of State Election Commission? Examine the challenges it is facing with an example. So this is the end of this session. Thank you.
Add-on solutions. Add-on desires.